Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to see so many familiar names and faces in YouTube and Instagram. Hopefully, folks will keep on rolling in as we get started. I am so excited to have with us Douglas G. Cala this evening, reading from Lyrical Sustenance and sharing with us. And we'll bring Doug up in just a moment. So official good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Catherine E. Schneider, as you may know, and I am the editor-in-chief and publisher of the Northeast Coast Press. This summer, we are so excited to be announcing and introducing to you our first full season of poetry collections for winter 2027. Tonight, we are especially excited to introduce to you our next poet from the winter 2027 lineup, Douglas G. Cala, and his incredible forthcoming poetry collection, Lyrical Sustenance. Welcome, Doug!
Hi, Katie. How you doing?
Doug was just having a little bit of internet trouble, but he is here. He's looking amazing. He's got that smile on his face. And that's what's important.
Yep.
How was your day today, Doug?
Yeah, it was good. Just worked at the Parks Department, another shift, and now I'm here. So I got to rest a little bit and raring to go.
Best part of the day right now, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, all right. Well, I'm going to read Doug's bio for you all to introduce him, and then I will let him take it away. Douglas G. Cala is an award-winning spoken word poet, essayist, and multimedia and IT specialist based in New York City. For more than 2 decades, he has been writing and performing poetry with his work published across 4 continents. He has appeared at renowned East Coast venues including Busboys and Poets, the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, the Cutting Room, the Metropolitan Room, Cornelia Street Cafe, and the New York City Poetry Festival, among many others. In 2025, he released Ambrosia, a grant-funded spoken word poetry album, so awesome. And Lyrical Sustenance is his debut poetry collection. We're very excited. Doug, take it away.
Yep. Okay. So I will start. I guess I should start now.
Dive
Hold
in,
on.
Doug, yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So I will get right into it. This first piece is called Fact or Fiction. They question, is your art confession or conjuring, fact or a fevered fiction, slipping from the altar of your tongue, splattering itself across canvas like prophecy disguised as paint? It is meant to unsettle, to pry open ribs, to magnify what the naked eye pretends not to see, to strike a match beneath sleeping senses and watch them flare. This is a cloak and dagger existence, meaning moves masked, smuggled beneath the velvet of rhyme. What sounds melodic carries a blade. It enters through the ear, vibrates, divides like living cells, achieves its own mitosis in the bloodstream, reaching marrow faster than medicine, rewriting molecules, rejuvenating thought, leaving you breathless. leaning forward, starve for the next sentence. My words are litmus. Critics blanch and faint at the you. Uncomfortable art has always ignited uprisings. And I intend combustion. Acolytes will gather, not followers, torchbearers, carrying cadence forward. Long after coins rest on my eyes, after ritual and remembrance lower me into legend. Know this. I did not waste my formative years idling in absence. I absorbed what was written, then bent it back through my own prism, refracted doctrine into revelation, augmented inheritance with interpretation. I am climbing, ascending toward rare air. Maybe one day the major leagues will echo with my name. Until then, my poetry pistons like an iron workhorse, palatable yet powerful, acid etched and actionable, driving forward, inspiring all who dare to listen.
Woo! Doug, that was killer! That was absolutely amazing, Doug. I also need to tell
Thank
you
you.
your video is frozen. I'm not sure if that's because you are looking at maybe a document and it stopped your video. But you know what? If
Oh,
I
okay.
know
I think I'm back now. I'm back now. Okay.
you are back, but maybe if you still got that laptop there, maybe laptop for your reference
Yeah.
and
Okay.
phone for the
Okay.
video. That
Yeah.
was so sick,
Okay. Good
Doug.
idea. Good idea.
So
Okay.
sick. All right.
Thank you.
Really, that was fantastic. And like, we want to see your beautiful face performing, but that audio is still incredible. All right, so I will let you proceed.
All right. From now on. Okay. 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 All right. So this next one is called "A New York Poet's Chronicle," and it's one of the centerpieces of the collection, actually. So here goes. I can name venues that shuttered, places I rove throughout this vast, interconnected metropolis, bound by transit united in voice, teeming with lived-in history, from the Barriqua vestiges of the hollowed halls of the New Yorican before its reconstruction to the bohemian contemplation of the Cornelia and sidewalk cafes. We were writers, never at play, but weaponizing our words to deliver messages most were afraid to utter. You could hear the clarion call of the underground, providing lyrical sustenance, hands gesticulating as observations were made. With you can distill thoughts. Poetry can be pugilistic but beautiful, akin to artists who tag train cars with graffiti, contributing to the urban sprawl. We all crafted theses. We all know what it means to run to a reading in the blanketed rain, snow, and hail. Our umbrellas collapsing under weather's intensity. Windburned cheeks never woeful. Poets of all creeds, backgrounds, and ages. Some older, ambling, and unsteady, while others arriving with the triumphant hop on the stage. Purpose provides palatable pantheons of canonized calligraphy. Poetry saved me. What has it done for you? For I'm always in a New York state of mind, even as politicians perpetuate propaganda and transit fares continue to skyrocket. Poetry cuts through it all with swift intervention, saving us from mental collapse. Okay, I'm gonna keep going,
I just have
and
to say, Doug, I'm sorry to interrupt again. It was so good. It was so good. Woo! All right, I won't interrupt anymore.
thank you, thank you a lot. This next one is a little more political in nature. It's one of several political pieces in the book. It's called Generations. We swore we would not become them, swore the oak of our virtue was not hollow at the core. We called ourselves reformers, torch bearers, architects of a cleaner republic, but they once shouted too, once tore at the foxes in their hen houses. They named corruption, then comfort came, then compromise, then power tasted sweet, and they became the very rot they pledged to excise. History is not a lesson. It is a wandering machine for empire. War budgets swell like tumors. Markets convulse. The middle class is wrung out. Pockets turned inside out while billionaires write the tax code in disappearing ink. Inflation stalks the grocery aisle. Rent climbs like barbed wire, and we are told to be patient. So, where does the AI generation stand, bent-necked before blue-lit idols, fed algorithms instead of bread, outraged, packaged, dissent, monetized? Will they march or merely scroll? Revolutions are not inherited, they are chosen. To sit on laurels is treason. To repeat the cycle is consent. History does not flutter gently, it detonates. Okay. Yeah, this next one is called Lightning in a Bottle. Unfasten the windows of my soul. Let loose the cords that bind me to this terrestrial hush, this ordinary gravity. The torch that leads me forward is kindled by whispered psalms, palms pressed tight, fused like volcanic ore, magma bright with belief. Shatter the chamber that condemns this fragile vessel. Let truth rise, hammer to empire, spark against a gilded edge. I have seen the rot among us. I would scour it from society's hem, bleach the stain to bone white clarity, set the world to a righteous spin, rinse, renew, repeat. Let these interwoven fingers summon what we once called virtue, not relic, but seed, ripening with ancestral fire. Protests jolt dormant nerves awake. Abby Hoffman strides toward judgment, defiant in the dock, a patron saint of the unruly. Defend the meek, lift the bowed. I become my own standard bearer. From scattered elements I distill tomorrow, forge a final reckoning with every hex of harm, unmake the clutch of shadow before it tightens around the innocent who knew only light before corruption learned their names. Okay. And this last one is called Exorcism. It's probably one of the shortest pieces in the entire collection. It's actually the last piece, I believe, in the book. It's called Exorcism. They were told my demise, like weather already forming. named my vision psychosis, demanded the combination to the lock around my heart. In sleep, my tongue broke open, spilling syllables they called demonic. I trembled on a mattress of nails, arched like a question, out, brief, candle, they warned. But I was not extinguished. In waking life, I entered vastness, where imagination knew no fence, where pronouns struck sparks, where language unspooled like a non-terminating decimal. I did not fracture. I focused. The world sharpened, clean, precise, incandescent. And I stood inside it, not possessed, but burning. Thank you.
Wow! Doug, that was so sick!
Thank you.
I'm
Thanks a lot.
sending you all of the applause and all of the comments, all of the flame emojis from the Instagram, YouTube comment sections. I know you can't see them right now, Doug, but
Yeah, I
that
can't
was
see him. Yeah.
so powerful. We'll make sure you see them later on the replay on YouTube.
Okay,
especially.
okay.
But wow, Doug, what a powerful, powerful, powerful reading. And it's so special because I've gotten the incredible opportunity to read all these poems in your manuscript and feel that power from the page. But to get to hear and see you performing them, next level, even, just so powerful. So many hard hitting lines, and the way that you read and perform is just totally captivating. Totally captivating. Doug, you just like lit us all up. So thank you so much for that awesome reading.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Of course. Well, why don't we dive into these questions so that our incredible audience,
Okay.
near and far, can get to know you a little bit better. Here's our first question. At what point did you realize poetry wasn't something you just loved to read or hear or experience in a cafe? It was something you needed to write and perform yourself.
Okay, I definitely think it was when I gradually began to find myself in a company of poets and writers that were basically straddling both the worlds of spoken word and published poetry.
Right.
Several of my performance poetry mentors, I can name like two of them. One of them is Dr. Helena D. Lewis. She is an HBO deaf poet. She's also a professional LCSW, a clinical social worker. So she was one of my earlier mentors. Now my other one his name is Mo Beasley. He lives in Miami, but at the time he was living in New York, and I was coming up in spoken word in like my late teens, early 20s.
Nice.
And they both were really instrumental in basically like, I guess, imparting the value of both. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And also like and also the value of publishing. I think there are a lot of audience members who don't always want to hear the poet like perform in their own voice, but they rather like hear the subtext and hidden meanings reading it for themselves. You know what I mean? And I became interested in experimenting with like aesthetic and form and structure and kind of planting like Easter eggs with my writing that readers could latch onto and resonate with.
Nice.
And I think even though I started as a teenage spoken word artist first, once I started reading like other writers more aggressively, both classics and contemporary, I developed understanding for the visceral impact that poetry can have on the page. I don't think I favor one over the other though, really. Like I think both are important to build a platform from. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think you are such a fantastic example of that. And I just love that phrase, visceral impact, because you have that on the page and you have that live in your performance. And that is just so incredible. All of your lines that we can read, they hit so hard on the page, and you make sure that they are delivered to you that way when you read and perform live, Doug. That is just so fantastic.
Mhm.
Speaking of which, as both a page poet and a spoken word artist, do you approach a poem differently depending on where it will live, or do the page and stage feel like one and the same in your writing process?
This is a good question. I think most of the time I definitely write to perform, but I always like keep in mind when conceiving a new piece that how I will be translating it like on the stage. I'm very much interested and kind of like I'm kind of neurotic about cadence and narrative through line,
Yes.
and how to make it most effective for my audience to digest. And
Yes.
because I occupy both of the worlds, I
Yes.
think I really like thread the needle and find myself, I guess pretty assured in both fields. But if I had to admit, a more confident performer than I am a page poet, in my opinion.
Yeah.
However, usually though, if I know I want to publish something that I've already performed and battle tested at like an open mic or a feature that went over well, I'll go back
Hmm.
and edit that piece and change its presentation so
Yes.
that it can be appropriately read on the page. And
So
this
it
could be like
feels
with like
like,
line breaks,
yes.
or this could be with enjambment, or this could be with like, like moving words around, doing like, like kind of like switching up the meter a little bit, like changing how the rhythm is. I think my
Exactly.
shorter, less long-winded poems that are under 2 minutes are more publishable. And
They're
honestly,
all
in my opinion, though,
publishable, yeah.
I haven't like completely cracked the code of publishing, but I noticed that my shorter pieces get accepted more. And I think that has to do with like editorial attention spans, like maybe waning a little bit nowadays.
Well, Doug,
No offense to anybody. No offense to any editors out there.
well, I think you've cracked publishing personally as the representative of the Northeast Coast Press. But I also do understand, sometimes there are page limits, and like it can be tricky. But your poems are worth it, and it's worth it to send them out exactly as they are, I guess, as long as they're following the different guidelines that are out there. But that
Yeah,
certainly
yeah,
did
yeah.
not
Uh-huh.
stop me with Lyrical Sustenance. These poems are exactly what they need to be, and they're just these incredible narratives, like monologues that just carry you along, in their arc and their individual logic and characters and statements, that they just work so well. And it's just really evident that you've been able to kill it on stage with these pieces and be able to translate that rhythm, like you said, to the page. We're so excited for everyone to experience it in January 27, of course. But let me move on to the next
Yep,
question.
yep.
As you were writing these poems, were there particular images, themes, or questions that kept returning and gradually revealed the shape of the collection?
Yeah, definitely. Well, this collection manifested over the course of 3 years.
Yep.
And in that time, I was wrestling with some personal demons, but I think certain themes became apparent to me, like self
Mm,
identity, morality, the state of the developing world was weighing
yep.
really heavily on me as I was crafting this. And I
Mm,
kind of wanted my whole goal here was to like usher in a clarion call to not just be a spectator and sit idly by as pervasive issues
yep.
like presented themselves, but I wanted to take an active role in my own healing and catharsis.
Yes.
This collection reflected me keeping my mental health struggles at bay while also balancing the responsibilities of like kind of becoming of age, like being in my 30s, striking a work life creative balance. I knew with Lyrical Sustenance that I wanted to dive deeper and show different facets of values, knowledge, and tribulations than I had in like prior written works. And there had to be like an overarching narrative, but I also knew each poem had to be self-contained as well, so they can like kind of like stand on their own. I think any one of these could stand firmly on their own, but connective tissue is really important to me, as well as like placement, as well as placement. And there were certain like existential meaning of life questions that I attempted to answer in the book, if not for my audience, but primarily like for myself. And I feel satisfied that I told conceptually an end-to-end that showcases depth and the rhythmic technical flow in language that I've become relatively known for.
Absolutely, Doug. And that's why I feel like the title Lyrical Sustenance is so spot on here, because in each of these poems, whatever you are tackling or expressing or exploring, it's the exploration in words, it's the tackling it, it's the capturing it in words and talking to it and telling other people about it, that is so filling, that is so healing, that is so triumphant. And you can really, really feel that in each poem and in the arc, as you were saying. So just wonderful, 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 wonderful stuff. A wonderful collection. Let me move to this question. Um,
Okay.
okay. Um, you know, yeah, okay, I'll go ahead with this one. You kind of already answered this one, but I don't want to skip it for you. When did you
Okay.
realize you didn't have just a group of poems here, you had a book? In those 3 years, when were you like, this isn't just a bunch of awesome pieces? This needs to be a
Yeah, yeah,
manuscript.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I would say about like maybe halfway through the writing process. I think I had an earlier manuscript called Eternal Embers that was getting rejected a lot, and so I was feeling a
Been
little
there.
disgruntled, and I thought to myself, well, let me put that energy into a new collection, a full length, instead of a chapbook, right? So I
Yeah.
figured, like, why do a chapbook when I have enough material for a full length? And I had
Mm.
20 years worth of material, but really my poetry voice though really only started taking shape like 10 years ago. Like I think I
Yeah.
really found my footing like 10 years ago. And I was venturing more outside of of Staten Island, of my home borough, to perform, and I was meeting all sorts of poets and connecting with all different communities in different regions. And one
Wonderful.
of those places I have to give a shout out, I'm giving a shout out right now,
Shout out.
was in Union City, New Jersey.
All
A
right.
shout out. Union City, New Jersey, where my one of my poetry comrades, Art,
Yeah,
he runs an open forum open mic called the Poetry Unfold, where he invites performers to not only share their work but to discuss it in like a round table kind of format,
Oh, that's lovely.
and like passing the mic around the room. And it was there that I was actually workshopping a good number of the poems that ultimately made their way into Lyrical Sustenance. So
Yes.
I really owe him and the other writers there like a debt of gratitude in a way,
Well, huge shout
Then
out.
in the editorial process, on
Yes,
my own
sir.
editorial process, I brought in four editors. I brought in Liv Mamone, my buddy MT Paridi, my friend Raina, and of course, Dara, of course. So
Dara
Dara Kalina.
Kalina.
And I think at that point, yeah, yeah. And I think at that point, it was a definitive book, and I knew that it would be submittable and that a publisher would want that one. So I shelved Eternal Embers after that. I just kept it in the vault. Yeah,
Well, I'm sure it's going to
yeah.
come back out of the vault in an incredible way in the future, because this publisher sure noticed Lyrical Sustenance and felt incredibly honored to grab onto it as fast as I could. It's really incredible here, and you can feel those decades of work in here. It's tight, it's exciting, and it's powerful. Doug, I'm just gonna move on to our last question here, which I ask
Yeah. Okay.
everyone. Last
Uh,
question. What are you most excited for
okay.
readers to discover or experience when the book arrives in January 2027?
Hmm. Well, definitely to prove to some, I think to some people who may question the viability of whether spoken word can be translated into page poetry. I
Preach
think like
it,
that's the
preach
main
it.
thing. Secondly, I believe that I think lyrical substance achieves that, and it's also pretty rare in terms of like, because to me, there's a lot of spoken word poets who either never been published or who never ventured into thinking about publishing because they never really practiced how to orient their work for the page. Like
Right.
it's really like a skill on its own. And I
That's
hope my
it.
readership discovers how valuable cadence, precise diction, and rhythm are to a poet's arsenal of tools. I think
Absolutely.
lyrical Sustenance with its many themes will be relatable, and I can't wait to see my book's first critical reactions, critical impressions. I also hope that my readers will see how timely my book is in a post-COVID, like highly politicized
Post-COVID.
world that we're
Crazy
living
world.
in, but that lyrical sustenance affords the reader hope for the future through my catharsis of writing it. I hope it will embolden people who've never thought to write a poem to try their hand at the craft. And for all those spoken word artists who've never
Mm,
been published, I hope it lights a fire in them to explore that world. And lastly, I have to thank my partner Rachel for being an anchor
hey,
and
Rachel.
genuine support system during the process of getting this book, to where it needed to be in terms of like giving me the support that I needed. She's a gifted poet and photographer as well,
Amazing.
and our bonding really me and gave me a sense of faith and trust that this collection would see the light of day. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's certainly, I feel like it is already doing all of those things. And that is a message that the Northeast Coast wants to send as well. That we want to bring the page poets and the spoken word poets together. We want to get them rocking out in each other's worlds too, thinking more about the performance presentation of poems, and also for spoken word poets diving into that craft of how things are working on the page, and going for publishing opportunities. So the Northeast Coast is so with you
Yeah.
on that, Doug, and we are so grateful to have you on this incredible lineup for winter 2027. We've now announced all 6 of our winter 2027 poets. We are so grateful to have you on that lineup, Doug, and so grateful to have you here with us tonight. Thank you so much for this incredible reading and interview, Doug. One more round of applause for
Thank you. Thank
you.
you.
And you're going to have to read these
Thanks.
comments. They're just gorgeous. Just
All right.
absolutely
All right.
gorgeous. You deserve it. So everybody stay tuned for everything that's coming next from the Northeast Coast. We have our friend, Doug's friend, and the press's friend, Dara Kalima. Her reading will be next Thursday night, and then that wraps up our introductory live streams for the summer. And we'll be going into some very cool stuff in the fall. So please stay tuned, keep following all of us, and have a good night, everyone. Bye bye.